up there and cleaned the drains, so when things melted, it would flow off the roof.
Provided it doesn't snow every second day.
No,
Right.
and that would be something that we need to
32 inches
clarify
in 2 days.
in an
What
RFP
did
or
you pay for
contract.
snow removal? Just recently?
Just over $150,000.
Right.
But again, if in a, and again, this obviously wasn't a
Not a
normal
typical
snowfall
year,
year,
right.
but in a typical year where you have a snowstorm, then you have several days of sun, what you do is you get your people up and they clear a 10-foot swath around all those roof drains and
Another
ferry it
one there?
off, and then, quite frankly, the sunlight takes care of the rest of it on a flat roof.
Yeah, I don't know if this is considered best practice, but I've been in communities where we would get the highway department with a front-end loader and lift a snow blower and a man up on the roof and snow blow the flat roofs.
Yeah.
Not the best thing for a
They
membrane
did
roof,
that in,
but
they did that in
it-
Boxford.
I've seen it done too.
It,
but
it,
did
it
it
beats
Saggy this winter.
it beats the alternative.
It does, it does potentially create some problems once the snow goes away.
Yeah.
But-
We already have $1 million roof problem up there. We don't need to add to it.
But there are, we wouldn't recommend that anybody got on a pitch roof without,
Yeah, you'd have to contract, you'd still have to contract out for pitch roof snow removal, because you need the cranes and the harnesses.
So that would be, the only one this would help right now would be
High school.
high school,
Well, and a good portion of Pearlie,
the back.
Gym.
the gym
Okay.
portion.
but there's
Back.
nothing to say you can't use snow rakes.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
use them at home. And number 14, I think I just pretty much
Yep.
discussed that. 15, two of our buildings are used nights and weekends throughout much of the year. Will the workers cover these shifts, or will that cost extra money? It's provided in the contract at no additional cost. We just have to let them know ahead of time, give them the schedule, so they can schedule their people.
Will it impact the coverage during the week?
It shouldn't.
well, why don't we do a 7-day-a-week contract
why-
for 52 weeks?
well, I think part of it is.
Yeah,
um,
Well, actually 7. They use the high
Because they use
school. They use the high school on
they use
Sundays.
Saturday and Sunday.
That's right, both schools.
Again, at this point in time, it's an estimate. I think when we were talking yesterday, and I guess the answer to your question from my vantage point is maybe, is that when they do a 52-week proposal like this, they assume a certain amount of what they call banked hours.
Right.
And it's those banked hours that they're considering for, and this is for school events. Now, I do think the assumption was that for example, a GAA event.
Right.
Which we bill GAA right now for the overtime for the custodian, that would still continue to be a practice, only now
They'd be paying directly
they'd
to
be
the
paying the contractor as
Okay.
opposed to the school.
I think I'm on 16. Will provide tools and equipment, and will the town have to pay to maintain and replace equipment within the budget? I think I've mentioned that. The outdoor maintenance is on our dime. Interior maintenance is on theirs. So we will have to budget for equipment and tools and maintenance thereof.
Each individual department, or are you going to budget for them as a town and just share them?
It would certainly make more sense to share them. I mean, that's,
The lion's share of that anyways, but.
well, I think you'll find the highway department has most of
They
the
probably
tools
have a
Well, I was
anyway.
gonna say, I think they have all the equipment that,
Between highway and Parks and Rec, or I guess
Yeah.
Park and Rec uses most of the highway stuff anyway.
Yeah, when we were talking with Peter about doing this, for the last 2 years, that's what we've been talking about, is
Right.
taking a look at where we have duplication of equipment. In some case, Peter has a larger mower,
Right.
which it takes our guys a lot longer to use our mowers, because we really do need what he has.
Because
So
those are
we
the
had
mowers.
talked about, doing an audit of all that, and then
And I-
trading in things we didn't need and getting equipment that we would need.
And I know another, and this is a relatively recent development, but I know that Parks and Rec has talked about the fact that, for example, if we need, they go out and lease equipment from time to time. If we needed a piece of equipment for like a gym, because that's part of Parks and Rec, and in that they use it, is it conceivably that piece of equipment or something for the fields might conceivably be part of a Parks and Rec lease. So There's a couple of different things going on in how we would look at that.
And remember, you can also look at equipment with the whole CIP process, now that we're putting money in the budget for CIP, and as we, to really get on the schedules, they're starting to look at what has not been done in years, but that's really, if we're looking at equipment that's gonna be town equipment, right, Mike, things that are over 10,000, I mean, this is to plan, as opposed to knee-jerk reaction. Start thinking about what we need and plan.
Well, something like aerators. We have an aerator, but the tines only go down like 2 inches. We really need one that goes down 6 inches to a foot. That would be
Yeah.
an example of something
Yeah.
like that.
And that would probably be a CIP expense.
Question 18, I think this is a really good question. Is the 729K enough to provide the service to the town to adequately clean and maintain the buildings and grounds? Or is there going to be a need to add more money to this in the next couple of years? What will happen in subsequent years when the town is struggling to maintain current programs and services? I feel that 729 is an adequate beginning. It's light years ahead of what we got now, but we're not going to cure all our ills in the first year, the first 2 years. But it's a really good start.
Oh, that stupid. Sorry, I thought we turned that off. That's a new phone. I apologize. I thought we turned it off. Sorry. Keep going, Mike.
Oh,
Ignore me.
all right. But this was the really good question.
Styling.
So,
Just bring it over here.
Bring it over.
We all have the same phone.
Okay. I'll let my technical experts
experts, yeah.
educate me here. I apologize for that.
It just flips down.
Oh, that's all we had to do?
Yeah.
Well, I'll know next time.
Nice phone.
Thank you. So this was a really good question. And we're gonna let you answer it now.
And you missed half the answer, but I saved the best
We're gonna
part.
let you
I
answer
saved the
this now.
best for last. As I think you all know, overrides are only earmarked in the first year. And then it just, it stays there, but it often will disappear in the budget. I think the town, if and when this passes, needs to make a concerted effort to treat this as an earmark and make it untouchable, and every year add 2.5% to it. This is, or we're going to just fall back. We'll fix things and everything will look great, and then everything will go to hell if we don't maintain it. It's easier said than done, but if we start with that premise, I
Would we be doing that with all overrides?
well,
We haven't had an override since the 80s, so.
I know.
yeah. Well, let's start.
Well,
Sacred cow, right?
could we
I-
use but use the fire department as an example, right? Because
always have
that,
money for that
that
ladder
did,
truck.
that did pass, no, the fire
No,
department
the
got an
ladder truck is
override.
different.
Right.
Got an override, so.
Right, that was for the
has
fire
that-
chief.
Right, so
Correct.
has that
Yes.
maintained itself and increased, or what, it's level funded, right, like every other department? But in other words, it didn't go backwards.
We
It
didn't
stayed-
lose the 30 hours off
Yeah,
the chief.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
We didn't vote in an override for chief and then cut the chief back.
Okay,
We
that's
didn't
what
vote in the time for the per diems and then cut that back. No, that was the intent, and I
Right.
think that is.
As it should be,
As,
the
that's
intent.
always been the intent since I've been on FinCom, if the goal is to do that, but yet that is the only override, so I can't say that there's proof in the pudding, because it's been the only override that's happened since the 80s, so.
But I think we need to go into this process and start to make it sacrosanct.
Mhm.
Okay, so you got.
Will there be a written plan presented to the committee? I don't have a written plan. What we need to go further and develop an RFQ jointly, and based on that RFQ, develop a contract and do that jointly. the timing is such, yes, it's tight. We won't know, we could, Terry and I could begin building the RFQ now and have it ready to, and publish it on May 10th. It has to be advertised for 10 days. We just fast-tracked this ESCO contract. It was published for the required 10 days. We picked our contractor within 2 weeks after that, after the 10 days expired. And we're going to have our first draft contract by May 9th, ready to go. So we'll be even further ahead. So if we follow that same, if we publish it on the 10th, leave it out, it has to stay out there for 2 weeks, and then interview, do the selection process, we could conceivably have this ready for July 1.
We'd have to, yeah, I'm just thinking in my head.
But even if,
Might need one more week in that process.
yeah,
but
even
yes,
if
I
it
agree
took
with
us
you.
until the middle of July or the third week of July or even first week of August, it's school's out. We have some flexibility. The status quo would be maintained until the first day of that contract, so we wouldn't be losing any of the summer cleaning anyway. I mean,
Well, we have a contract with our custodians, it's up July 1st, correct?
Correct.
So there is, can't be August.
well,
I did speak with the gentleman from the,
Did you talk to Joe?
I talked to Joe.
Yeah.
The gentleman who negotiates for the custodians, and did explain to him that there was this discussion, it was ongoing, and that, we'd see what happened as a result of it. So it just felt fair to me that
yeah.
we would let them
The
know.
union should know, but I'm asking more along the lines of,
Yeah, if it wasn't in place.
if it's not in place, and
Right.
we have no contract,
Right, no, it's a good question.
Well, can we extend the contract for a month? I would suspect that they would want to, if they had a chance to work for a month, not knowing what the
Well,
outcome, they would accept that.
Well, I
with-
don't know.
I wouldn't assume that. But negotiations are interesting.
I don't know.
It's not out of the question though, but, I
I
would.
just don't want to go a month without having anybody in the school. We can't. So we have to have some kind of a backup plan, whether we have to come up with it or it has to be written out
Well,
somewhere.
we can, I think we can figure out a solution for a few weeks. If it comes to that, and it very well may. I'm not saying, all the stars would have to be aligned properly, and, but it's not out of the question.
Okay.
And as far as the memorandum of understanding, I did talk to, I know Danvers has a town school buildings and ground department. I called them and asked them for a copy of their MOU. They do some contracting, but much of it is done through their Department of Public Works.
Yeah.
So it would be very different than what we're looking at anyway. I'll continue to look for, I'm not one to reinvent the wheel, so I'll continue to talk to my colleagues, and Terry.
Can you get a copy of the
Same.
Whitman Hanson thing, or?
Well, we have
We
it.
have it
Oh, you have
already.
it already.
Yeah.
We have it. It's
have
not an MOU,
see
it's an RFQ, basically. It's a,
But it has what we could, I mean.
Oh, yeah, we
obviously,
can definitely
potential
get,
template.
we can email that to you
Absolutely.
tonight.
Oh, yeah, we don't reinvent the wheel when we don't have to.
Okay.
So, that's the 20 questions.
I have another one.
Okay.
But, go ahead.
No, and so I know you've all been looking at the staffing, the proposed staffing, and the estimated budget. They all pretty much speak for themselves. It's going to give us a much higher level of service than we have now. you know, and greatly